Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Welcome to City Hall. We have a regular meeting of the City Council that's scheduled to take place at 7 o'clock. Beforehand, pursuant to the City Council rules, we do have some individuals who are signed up for public speak out. So we will allot each of you 3 minutes. With the clock that we've got here, Focus Springfield is broadcasting this, and I will start with the first registered speaker, Mr. Stephen Howard. Good evening, Mr. Howard. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. President. I really came to talk about the opioid funds transfer, but hopefully it will be done tonight. But considering the limited time we have, I just would like to let the community know that over 2 years ago, Massachusetts should have been allocated $147 million for broadband access. Mm-hmm. That is part of the administration's bid to basically, actually they announced state allocations of $42.45 billion for high-speed internet access. That 147 is supposed to be coming to Massachusetts. There's another $2.75 billion coming again for broadband access. And being the former chair of the Digital Equity Committee, Mr. President, I'm sure that I believe it's Commissioner Delgado, Councilor Delgado, who will be in charge of that.
That's right.
So I think they need to tap into that. MBI is handling, to my knowledge, MBI is handling the 2.75 billion. They've been doing it now. They had a meeting up to last week, and folks went there with, to get acquainted and so forth. But there's a lot of money that's going on out that's allocated. I know there's a situation with the provider right now, and we really need to figure out how's the best way to get those funds into Springfield, especially as it pertains to the HHS. I'm sure they could use some updated computers. I'm sure they would like to make sure that some of the money that maybe they've already allocated for computer equipment, if they could get that part of that fund, then those allocated funds could actually be transferred to provide services to people who are in need of opioid care and so forth. So thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Howard. And Mr. Howard, you're right that Chairman Delgado is chairing that committee this year. I know he's been back and forth with some other members of the community about scheduling upcoming meetings. So thank you for your interest and your partner's interest in that. Our next speaker is Marguerite Foster, and I can't read the penmanship here. Maybe it's Franklin? Marguerite Foster something regarding street lighting. Okay, we'll try you one more time, Marguerite, at the end. Next is Duncan Davio. Welcome, Duncan.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, members of the City Council. It's a privilege to speak here today. I rise today as a concerned citizen, a physician assistant who takes care of this community. And I've seen my neighbors struggle, and I'm also here today as a representative of the Massachusetts Association of PAs. I'm here today to discuss an important issue that's ongoing in our state right now, and that's the inadequate access to primary health care. I've previously been before this body to discuss this issue. I've talked about how it's impacted our community and our citizens, and I've talked about how patients I've seen in the emergency department have gotten cancer diagnoses way too late. I've talked about how patients have ended up with disastrous complications, such as amputations, diabetic foot infections, strokes, heart attacks, because they lack a primary care provider to manage their chronic health conditions, such as diabetes and hypertension. Today, as I speak, wait times at Mercy Medical Center are in excess of 6 hours. The sad thing is that's one of the best days I've seen in a long time. Wait times frequently exceed 12, 13 hours, sometimes 20 hours, and we've been even approaching 1 day in terms of my record there for being there the past 4 years. Mercy Medical Center is not alone. Bay State faces similar wait times, as well as hospitals all across Massachusetts. These wait times are concerning, but I would urge caution to realize that they're only a symptom of a healthcare system that's working for the wrong people. Healthcare works really well if you're a CEO of a healthcare system or a senior executive within a hospital. Patients are not getting the care that they need because insurance companies continue to create roadblocks through the prior authorization process, and I've seen it play out every day in my clinical practice. It's also not working for small business owners in Springfield who are facing higher insurance premiums for their employees, and it certainly does not work for patients who are exposed to long wait times for care that is increasingly fragmented and the growing frustrations they face with a system that's rigged against them. But before the City Council today is a solution. It's a resolution that I've been championing with my state PA organization, Mass Medical Society, and the Family Practice Physicians. There's a bill known as Primary Care for You. It's S750. This bill would fundamentally change how we pay for primary health care across Massachusetts. It would change the fee-for-service model into a prospective payment model. So that way, primary care providers such as PAs, nurse practitioners, and doctors no longer have to fight insurance companies to connect people to the care that they need. What it does is it also indexes payments to the social determinants of health so we can address the housing crisis, homeless crisis, food insecurity, and all these issues that are becoming emergency medical issues. We can address the wait times together by supporting this resolution, and I would urge the Springfield City Council to vote it favorably to send a message to the state legislature. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davio. Our next speaker is Dr. Wayne Altman. Dr. Altman, I see you're present remotely. You have 3 minutes. You can introduce yourself, please.
Thank you all. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. And thank you to my colleague, Duncan Davio, for his important words. I am a family physician. I'm a professor and chair of family medicine at Tufts Medical School. And I'm the co-owner of a medium-sized private practice in Arlington, Massachusetts. And I have been leading the group that has written and put forth this legislation and has been working on this legislation for over 5 years. This legislation was sponsored by Senator Cindy Friedman, the chair of the co-chair of healthcare financing in the state Senate. And Duncan spoke really eloquently about access issues. Not only are emergency departments filled up and have extended wait times, but if you've lost your primary care physician, good luck finding a new one. Calling up and trying to get a new PCP. I think many listening know this firsthand or secondhand through friends and family. We actually had a research team that completed research in the city of Springfield just on Friday. And what we did is we called up 23 primary care offices in Springfield that employ 164 primary care providers, 114 physicians, and 50 PAs and NPs. And we asked to be a new patient. Only 18% of those providers had availability. 82% of the providers turned people away. Of the 18% that were available, it was at least a 3 to 6 month wait. And this is only getting worse. We have, in addition to this, the cost of healthcare is absurd. It is ridiculously expensive for individuals, for families, for small businesses, for large businesses, and I'm quite sure for the city of Springfield to pay for healthcare for its employees is ridiculously expensive. And this is only going to get worse. Access is going to get worse. Cost is going to get worse. And by the way, for all the money we pay, our health outcomes are poor. Amongst developed nations, we rank 39th. And that is embarrassing, and that is shameful in the United States of America to rank 39th, while we rank number 1 in the amount of money we spend for healthcare. There's a solution
You have
with this
just another
legislation.
30 seconds if you could wrap up, please.
You bet. Thank you very much. There's a solution. The legislation that Duncan referenced, Primary Care for You or PC for You, S. 750, really doubles primary care investment. Primary care has a triple superpower. It increases health, it increases health equity, all at a lower cost. If we want something different, we have to do something different, something fundamentally different. And my ask for this group tonight is for the city of Springfield to endorse this legislation, S. 750. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Altman. Okay, our next speaker is Betsy Johnson. Ms. Johnson, you're up.
Hello, my name is Betsy Johnson. I'm here to talk about the situation of pedestrian safety in Springfield. Since 2015, Walk Bike Springfield, which is an informal group of Springfield residents, has been working to improve both pedestrian and bicycling safety in Springfield. We worked with this council to pass a complete streets policy back in 2016 and to lower the default speed limit when the state a few years ago allowed that. But now we need to do more. Roadway fatalities in Springfield continue to be the worst or close to the worst in all of Massachusetts. We had in this past year, 2023, in the report that Walk Massachusetts just released 3 weeks ago, Springfield had more roadway fatalities than any other community in all of Massachusetts. We need to collectively adopt what's called a Vision Zero effort to come up with a coordinated effort that includes education, enforcement, and engineering, what we call the 3 E's. The latter means we need to do more to redesign our roadways to slow down vehicles and promote safer pedestrian behavior. I wore my neighborhood council shirt tonight because we hear about the issue about speeding from every single one of the neighborhood councils from all over every neighborhood in Springfield. Springfield, because of our poor record, MassDOT helped the city gain we were one of 37 communities in the entire United States that was awarded what's called the Safe Streets for All project out of the federal infrastructure grant that's bringing somewhere between $15 and $18 million to do intersection and roadway corridor improvements. But this grant project, the first public hearing about this is tomorrow evening at the Jordan Center. It's all the more reason why the city needs the Complete Streets Council or Complete Streets Committee that this council passed when you passed the Complete Streets policy back in 2016. But the committee has still never been formed. We have written the mayor, we've written you, the council has received the letters that we've sent that outline the kinds of responsibilities of this council, the kinds of different positions and people who would be on the council. So we look forward to, this is high on the agenda of the Maintenance and Development Committee and the entire council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Our next speaker is Todd Crossett. Good evening, Mr. Crossett.
Good evening. I'm Todd Crossett. I'm from the Hungry Hill neighborhood. Betsy is correct that the infrastructure is a major problem and speeding is the major issue. Cars are, thank you. And infrastructure is what needs to change, and the city and the state are making changes in that regard. However, there's things we can do right now, because infrastructure takes a while to happen, takes years. One of the things, and there's many things we can do, one of the things we can do is remove the old 30-mile-per-hour speed limit signs that are on residential streets. That should be 25. The default speed limit passed by this council in 2017 is 25. 25 miles per hour in thickly settled areas, basically all of Springfield. Residents now can determine the safe mile per hour speed as a result of a new law passed in April 2023. Prior to that, you needed a speed study to reduce the mile per hours or change the mile per hours. The most problematic streets in Springfield are marked 30 miles per hour because they were put up prior to 2017 to slow traffic on those streets. We need to change those signs to 25 miles per hour. You no longer need a traffic study. All you need is for the DPW to write a letter to the chief engineer of MassDOT to say, we're changing this street, here are the coordinates, from one coordinate to another. It's very simple, it's inexpensive, we can do this. Let me give you some examples. You can drive 30 miles per hour up Springfield College's campus, hit a student who is walking across the street, maybe a little outside the crosswalk, and you will not be cited. 30 miles per hour on Alden Street. Absurd. On Bay Street, we lost a young man this past year on Bowdoin and Worthington. Bowdoin and Worthington. In the paper, he was blamed for wearing dark clothing and being outside of the crosswalk. There is no crosswalk, and you have a 30 mile per hour sign right before he was hit. That is a tiny, tiny little street. It should be 25 miles per hour. I just hope that the city council members will let the traffic commission and let DPW know that you want to use every single tool in your toolbook, in your tool case, to slow traffic down in the city. One of those is to replace the 30 mile per hour speed limit signs in 25 mile per hour areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crossett. And our last speaker tonight is Ms. Deborah Huber. Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm here representing Walk Bike Springfield and all of Springfield because of the issues my colleagues Betsy and Todd have just brought to you. It was 2016 when this council and the mayor signed into order, whatever, the Complete Streets policy. That was a commitment on paper to changing the way we design our roadways so that all those who use them would be safer. And yet, here in 2023, Springfield had the most pedestrian fatalities per capita in the state. We were second only to Boston. Boston had 2 more fatalities than we did, and they're 4 times our size. That is not acceptable. Something more needs to be done. In the resolution, it says that all road projects and maintenance performed should be to complete streets specifications. Yet over the past 8 years, many of our road projects have fallen short of safe. Chestnut Street, a bike lane was improperly striped at the 291 exit ramp, basically driving a cyclist into the curb, and it's now been 2 years since that crash happened, and that bike lane has not been fixed. Chestnut Street, that's Chestnut Street, sorry. Bradley Road. The travel lanes were 22 feet, let's say, wide, which is wider than highway lanes. So when they repaved, we put in bike lanes, but instead of making the lanes the recommended 11-foot width to try and slow the traffic and contain it, the city put in 6-foot bike lanes and left 14 to 16-foot travel lanes, encouraging speed. St. James Boulevard, bike lanes were painted, weaving in and out to the curb, eliminating parking where there was no need for it. The intention on that road was that the road was supposed to get narrowed to a single lane in each direction to try and slow traffic going past a public park. But that didn't happen. And for all the years since that, I believe 5, I've yet to be able to get our DPW to restripe that in the proper way. And then there's State Street, the infamous library crossing. Other towns, when someone's killed, within a year, they've solved the problem, made it safer. Here we are 10 years after Destiny was killed, and 2 more fatalities, and that intersection, that area, has still not been dealt with. And now that the city has the money to do it, they are putting forth a proposal that is far short of what should be happening in the area. We've been waiting for 8 years. Please. The mayor is not responding to our letters. The DPW is not responding to the mayor. We need the Complete Streets Council to guide and advise so that our streets become safer.
Thank you. That will conclude our public speak out for this evening. The council will stand in recess for 2 minutes. Those of you joining remotely, please join the meeting link for the regular council agenda. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Springfield City Hall. Today is Monday, May 6th. It is 7:05. We've completed our public speak out. We're now going to start the council's regular meeting agenda. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Walsh?
Present.
Counselor Walsh?
Oh, am I muted? Present.
Present. Counselor Allen?
Present.
Present. Counselor Delgado?
Present.
Present. Counselor Click Bruce?
Present.
Present. Counselor Govan?
Present.
Present. Counselor Brown?
Present.
Present. Counselor Davila? Away. Counselor Curran? Absent. Counselor Santinello? Present. Present. Counselor Edwards?
Present.
Present. Counselor Whitfield?
Present.
Present. Counselor Perez?
Present.
Present. Counselor Fenton?
Present. Will the council and our guests please rise for a moment of silence? Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, will you please recognize the counselor in seat number 7?
Counselor Davila? Present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Counselor's first item on our agenda is reports of committee. Do we have any reports of committee this evening? Counselor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. We had 2 Finance Committee meetings in the last week. One was last Monday, at which we had Counselor Delgado, Counselor Click Bruce, I believe, was at that one, as well as this one. And we approved at that point the motions that were on that, the items that were on that agenda. Since we've had, and today we had another Finance Committee meeting at 5:30. And that was, a lot of those items are obviously on tonight's agenda. At the meeting was Counselor Govan, Counselor Whitfield, Counselor Click Bruce, Counselor Edwards. I'm not sure if there's anyone else, myself, Counselor Davila. And we had a pretty lively discussion of the topics around the agenda. Many good questions, many good answers, some of which we'll obviously be going over tonight at the meeting. And the big item, one of the big items that we'll be discussing tonight is the opioid money and the disposition of that money and how it's going to be handled. But overall, 2 good meetings. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor Allen. Any other reports of committee? Counselor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Maintenance and Development met with Chris Signoli. We had Counselor Walls, Davila, Govan, and we had Walk Bike Springfield. It was a good meeting. We basically were talking about any concerns that constituents and individuals had as far as road safety, when it be it crosswalks, different street reconstructions. The meeting basically, we had a lot of questions that were answered and concerns that were answered. And we're hoping to still meet again in the future. Well, we do plan to meet again in the future, be it that safety in our roads is always going to be a main concern. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Any other councilors with committee reports? Okay, Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the General Government Committee met on April 29th to discuss two appointments that were referred by His Honor the Mayor to the General Government for consideration to this body. The first appointment is an appointment of a Ms. Vanna E. Nesport, who is the appointment for the Preservation Trust seat for the Historical Commission. I do believe Ms. Nesport is here, and I look forward to hear from her in a little while. And Ms. Nesport comes with a very impressive resume, which we will get into in a little bit. Also, we heard the appointment recommendation of our own Vanessa Victoria Ford to the Springfield Redevelopment Authority. And we all know Vanessa Ford here in the city of Springfield. So the committee gave a positive recommendation for those appointments, and I look forward to getting to more details once we get to that portion. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Any other reports of committee? Okay.
Yes, I have.
Oh,
I
Councilor
have
Santinello.
one. Several weeks ago, the Health and Human Service Committee and Government Committee toured Mercy Hospital. It was one heck of a tour. Along with the tour came with us Tim Allen, Cateri Walsh, Victor Davila, and myself. And we went through the Sister Caritas Cancer Center, the Oncology Department, the Behavioral Health Department, and even their pharmacy. And I was really amazed at how far that hospital has really come, and their state-of-the-art equipment that they have, and the unbelievable personnel that they have at that hospital. So I want to just give a shout out to Trinity Healthcare and to my colleagues who were there. And if they want to say a few words, I think that they were as impressed as I was.
Thank you, Councilor Santinello. Any other reports of committee? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go to the regular agenda.
Mr. President, if I may.
Councilor Davila.
Thank you. Mr. President, if you indulge me and without objection, can we take item number 16 out of order, sir?
Okay. There's no objection. Take item number 16, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Let the clerk call it first, Councilor Davila.
Item 16 is a primary care for you legislation resolution.
Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for indulging this item. As we have Duncan Davio here, who's a PA here at Mercy Hospital, and Dr. Altman on the line. Mr. President, as we all know, we have two very fine institutions here in the Springfield, two fine hospitals here in the city of Springfield. Unfortunately, due to many circumstances, the waiting time in the emergency rooms is astronomical. It's nothing to go to Bay State Medical Center and wait 16 hours. Mr. Davio was speaking a little while ago in the public forum. He stated that the current, right now, if you walk into Mercy Hospital for treatment in the emergency room, you're going to be waiting at least 6 hours to be seen. And there's many reasons for that. There could be whether it is a lack of personnel, people using the emergency room in and of itself for primary care, which is not the intention of an emergency room. And this resolution, what calls for is called primary care for you. And this is asking to support the current Senate number 750, which is in the House. And what this does, this allocates a pot of money to primary care physicians for them to be able to treat the patient out of the emergency room and dedicate more time. Right now, they're paid basically as a fee for service, putting a little pressure into them to perform and to and not to spend as time with the patient as they should. I have to say, Mr. President, that a little while ago we had a report from the opioid situation here in Springfield, which is going to be coming up in a little bit in the agenda. We're going to be transferring $1.5 million into the opioid fund, and we were given a study. And one thing that ironically caught my eye, sir, is that is the opioid response plan here in the city of Springfield. One of the Springfield-specific challenges that we have here in Springfield, Mr. President, and they listed clearly as is the long wait in the emergency department. So this is a problem here in the city and throughout the state, and it is our hope that this wise body can endorse this so that we can have at the end what is better care and better health for a patient. If you allow me, Mr. President, I will read the actual resolution into the record, if you allow me, sir. Whereas 1/3 of the Massachusetts primary care workforce is over 60 years old, and primary care clinicians are experiencing high rates of burnout, and primary care clinicians are retiring early, reducing their hours, or are leaving the profession altogether, access to primary care in Massachusetts is in a crisis. Whereas inadequate primary care capacity contributes to both hospitals and emergency department being both beyond capacity and understaffed. And whereas our current healthcare systems makes accessing healthcare very inconvenient, whereas the cost of health insurance for families and business, as well as the cost of overall healthcare for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, are prohibitively expensive and causing personal bankruptcy and enormous strain on businesses and taxpayers. And whereas the high cost of healthcare, including copays and deductibles, desensitizes people from accessing primary care and establishing a relationship with a personal physician, whereas we continue to deliver healthcare inequitably and deliver fewer resources to the communities most in need of healthcare resources. Whereas in 2021, the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine issued a report in 2021 that declared that primary care is the only aspect of healthcare that delivers both better health and improved health equity. Now, therefore, be resolved that the City Council of Springfield formally endorses S750, also known as Primary Care for You, legislation that doubles primary care investment in Massachusetts and increases health equity in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Governor Maura Healey, Secretary of Human Services Kate Walsh, Undersecretary of Human Services Kayami Manai, Senator Cindy Friedman, Representative John Long, Senate President Karen Spilka, Speaker Ron Marino, Senator Adam Gomez, and Representative Carlos Gonzalez. And this, Mr. President, is being sponsored by myself, Councilor Victor Davila, Councilor Walsh, Councilor Perez, and Councilor Govan. Mr. President, I also do have here in PA Duncan Davio, and I believe that Dr. Alman is still on the line, should my colleagues have any further questions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Any other councilors on the resolve? Councilor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I agree with Council Davila, and I heard PA Devin speak earlier, Dr. Altman, and I guess I just wanted to give you an example of how the insurance companies are getting in the way. In November or October, I believe it was, my husband had Cigna insurance, and for whatever reason, Trinity Health decided that they weren't going to accept Cigna insurance any longer. So we had to find new providers. We searched and could not find anyone who was taking any new patients. And when we finally did, it was at a clinic in Long Meadow that we had to wait, I think, 3 months for our first appointment. So that was devastating to my husband, as he has serious health issues that need continuity of care. So it put a strain on us, and as Dr. Altman said in his public speak out, the cost of health insurance is a lot. Not only does the company fund some of it, the employee pays a portion of the premium, and then after they pay the premium, they have to pay co-pays, they have to, get authorizations, and it just doesn't make any sense. And that's the reason for many people having or going to the emergency room, making it so that people are waiting 12 hours. I have heard of people waiting 24 hours to be able to be treated at the emergency room. So I am in full support of this bill, and I'm hoping that the city council will decide and take a vote on, signing us on to this resolution so that we can do something in the state. The state of Massachusetts have always been first in healthcare access. Eventually, we are going to want to have healthcare for all. Right now, we don't have that, but I think that that is the way to go, and I think that Dr. Altman and PA Devin are on the right track for that purpose. And thank you for letting me share my experience.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Okay, seeing no other councilors, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the resolve.
On adopting the resolve, Counselor Walsh. Counselor Walsh.
Video back on.
Counselor Walsh.
Councilor Walsh is muted, but she's
saying
working.
yes. She's trying to take herself off mute.
Yeah, but the mute button is the thing.
I'll circle back to Counselor Walsh. Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Delgado?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Click Bruce?
Yes, and also please add my name to the resolution. Thank you.
Yes. Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Brown?
Abstain.
Abstain. Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Curran, absent. Counselor Santinello?
I'd like to be added to the resolve. Yes.
Yes. Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Fenton?
Yes. Can you circle back to Councilor Walsh,
Counselor
please?
Walsh?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, more than sufficient. The resolve is approved. Madam Clerk, I neglected to call the roll on reports of committee. I want to thank Councilor Govan for pointing that out to me. Could you please call the roll on acceptance of the committee reports?
On acceptance of reports of a committee, Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Delgado?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Click Bruce?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Curran, absent. Counselor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Committee reports are accepted. Item number 1, Madam Clerk.
Item 1 is the March revenue versus expenditure report.
Good evening, Mr. Burns.
Thank you, Mr. President. Patrick Burns, 90 Clement Street, Springfield. Tonight, I'm presenting to you the March revenue versus expenditure report. This represents the first 9 months of fiscal year 2024. Our revenue is currently at $683.7 million, or 75% of budget. Our expenditures are currently at $679 million, or 74% of budget.
Any questions for Mr. Burns on the report? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the report.
On acceptance of the report, Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Delgado?
Yes, and Councilor Fenton, can you add, could they add my name to the resolution as well? Thank you.
Yes, I will ask the clerk to do that.
Yes. Counselor Click Bruce?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Curran, absent. Counselor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Report is approved. Item number 2, Madam Clerk.
Item 2 is a confirmation of the appointment of Vanna Nespor to the Historical Commission.
Okay, is Ms. Nespor here this evening? Good evening. Please come forward. If you wouldn't mind, you get a kind introduction earlier from Councilor Davila, but if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself a little bit and telling us about why you're interested in the Historic Commission.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Vanna Nespor. I grew up on a farm in Oklahoma, and it was my great pleasure to end my career here at Bay Path as vice president and began immediately to enjoy my retirement with my husband, who's here tonight. We love Springfield and want to be of service. And when my friends at the Preservation Trust reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in representing them on the Historic Commission, I said yes. I hope that the skills and education that I have can be of service to that committee and that I can help it help the citizens affected in our historic areas and help better the city as a whole.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the council for Ms. Nespor?
Yes, Mr. President.
Is that Councilor Walsh?
Yes, I did. I attended the meeting when we met the nominee, and she is being very modest and not mentioning her many degrees and teaching experience in this country, in a foreign country, and the impact that she had on Bay Path when she was there. And I think it would be, and again, in the next nomination, we are so fortunate in Springfield to have so many talented people that want to help out the city. I think it would be very helpful if you could just mention a few highlights of your career, because I know all of us on the committee, we were really blown away by all your credits.
Thank you. I have found a focus to my career in helping adult women finish their degrees. I discovered this in West Virginia, working there for Shepherd, now Shepherd University, and discovered that low-income women with children couldn't go to college. They couldn't finish. So I devised a system of 4 classes on one day, a week, and some of them came for 2 hours to attend that. And they all graduated. They received an associate in business, and many of them went on for a bachelor's in English, and in that rural community, that was a powerful degree. I began to replicate that as I went to different institutions. As I saw a need, there was always that significant need. When I had the opportunity to join my husband in Indonesia, and I was there for 7 years, teaching at the international school, teaching English to young students in high school from 50 countries. I learned a great deal about culture and education and the power of language. And then my husband finished up his work there, and a friend of mine said, "You must come to New England. You must come to Longmeadow." And I said, "Where is that?" And
I wish they had said Springfield.
I know. But I had never really been to New England and fell in love with it. Carol Leary hired me after a 12-hour jet lag trip over here from the other side of the earth, and it was an amazing opportunity. We helped graduate 2,000 women in this region, in fact, this specific area, and helped them finish their degree. To me, that was everything. And then I helped create the online program. I helped create the rural satellites. One of the things I learned is when you don't know enough, you go back and get another degree. That's what I've always done. I have 4 masters and a doctorate. And the one thing I have learned is I know how to read and I know how to research and I know a little bit about computer technology. I hope that's helpful to the council. Is there anything else I can?
Well, thank you, Ms. Nespor.
Thank you.
Councilor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Dr. Nespor, for coming to the city council meeting tonight. And as Councilor Walsh said, I was very impressed by Dr. Nespor on the day that we had the meeting, and I certainly am going to vote for her nomination, because I think she would be an excellent asset in addition to the Historical Commission. And I truly appreciate her service to the country and specifically to Bay Path and the 2,000 women that you helped to graduate from college during that time. So thank you, and I encourage the rest of the council to vote in the affirmative. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Any other councilors? Councilor Davila?
Sure, if you allow me, Mr. President, I would love to read the actual appointing letter for the record, if your endorsement.
Please.
Thank you, sir. This is sent by the mayor, Dominic Sarno, dated April 8th, 2024. I hereby appoint Vanna Nespor of 48 Park Edge Avenue, Springfield, Massachusetts, as a member of the Historical Commission for an unexpired term until the first Monday in September of 2027. And I certify that, in my opinion, Ms. Nespor, is actually Dr. Nespor, is a person qualified to hold this position based on her commitment to the city, education, and experience to perform the duties of said office. And I make this appointment solely in the interest of the city. Dr. Nespor will be replacing Brian McFarland and is a nominee from the Springfield Preservation Trust. Respectfully submitted by Dominic Sarno, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Councilor Davila. Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll on the appointment of Ms. Nespor?
As a Talk alumni, it's my pleasure to take this roll call vote.
Sorry.
Thank you. Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran absent. Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Appointment is confirmed. Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Item number 3.
Item number 3 is for the confirmation of another favorite of mine, Vanessa Ford, to the SRA board.
Good evening, Ms. Ford. If you wouldn't mind coming forward.
Thank you, President.
Your reputation precedes you, but if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself to us. And sorry about that. And just say a little bit about why you're interested in serving on the SRA.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and to the council. Good evening. I'm honored to be here today and to just be appointed by Mayor Sarno to serve in the city that I call home. I'm born and raised in Springfield, Massachusetts. I'm a proud homeowner of this great city. I consider it a privilege and blessing to serve in any capacity where I'm asked to be of service in this city, to represent the people of my community and to represent the Springfield citizens. I serve on a few boards that part of governance and also in operations. I have experience as previous Senator Welch, being his director of operations for 8 years and having legislative experience, as well as serving the constituents of the Hampden District. I think it's important to recognize that I am an artist with the heart of the city in my heart. I consider it worthy to be able to find a way to be of service and to do good where I can. I think that there's an opportunity for citizens like myself to have a voice at the table and to be a part of planning that enhances the development and renewal of Springfield. As we continue to grow and prosper together, I think it's a wonderful opportunity in this season of my life to be able to say yes to such an appointment and to ask to be allowed to serve. And so my background in legislation, as well as being a multifaceted artist, I find it particularly important to see creative people in places and spaces of planning and development of our city. And if I was chosen, I would serve with integrity and joy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Councilors, Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is probably one of my favorite individuals when it comes to just individuals who truly care and put work in. Vanessa Ford, I was fortunate enough to be good friends with Senator Walsh. And when she worked in the state house with me working with State Rep Bud Williams, was able to see how she truly worked and how she was respected, not only by the colleagues, but by the state and the governor and everyone in the State House. I mean, she really does command a type of respect with such elegance and grace. I kind of, when I seen this on the agenda, I mean, I had 1,000 different things I wanted to say. And I mean, to me, she would make an angel not want to sing the way her voice resonates. I've been trying out with her to be her backup singer for the last, I gotta get to know me. Is that it?
Close, very
Close.
close.
Sorry to laugh so hard at that. Sorry.
But I could take forever, and I'm sure my colleagues would say the same. Anything she came in front of me and wanted to do, it would be a yes, yes, yes. I mean, I'm one of her biggest supporters and biggest fans. So thank you, Vanessa, for wanting to do this. And it's an honor always to be in your presence. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr.
Thank you. Councilor Santinello? Oh, Councilor Click Bruce.
I'll yield to the.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say that Vanessa Ford's credentials are impeccable. She believes in the city, and we all believe in the city, but she really believes in the city, and she's going to do a great job.
Thank you. Councilor Click Bruce.
Thank you, Council President. To my friend Vanessa, truly happy for you, and actually Springfield is actually lucky to have you and to have you actually want to serve. So we actually tell you thank you for wanting to do that. And you are the voice of Springfield. When you sing God Bless America and then you tie in God Bless Springfield, that's unique and it tailors to us. And I just want to say congratulations and thank you. Looking forward to working with you. God bless.
God bless.
Thank you, Councilor Click Bruce. Councilor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. It's been a pleasure working with you, Vanessa, over the years and all the different things you've done and lending your voice to all these great activities and ceremonies. Look forward to working with you in a different capacity as well. I'm sure you'll bring your grace and dignity and great enthusiasm for the city. So thank you for offering to do this.
Thank you. Councilor Perez?
There's no words to describe this lady. I have known her as my friend for so many years and the dedication that she has for the city. And I'm so thrilled and 100% in support because the commission that you're going to represent is the most important, the SRA, the redevelopment of the city. So congratulations if the board passes, and I know harder knowing you. And the way you sang that song in Springfield, it says it all. Thank you.
Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Vanessa, everybody has said everything that needs to be said about you, but our friendship goes back over 30 years. And I just want to say I love you. I love the way you raise your daughter. I love your support for your grandkids. I with Chanel on a weekly basis, and that's just a testament to the person that you are. And just love you. We are blessed to have you in this capacity, and look forward to working with you and learning more through you about this role. So congratulations, Vanessa, and just love you.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Councilor Govan?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, ditto what everyone else said, and I think in addition that, Vanessa has the skills and the qualifications to be on the Springfield Redevelopment Authority. I think her diverse background and her interest in the artists being a part of the city, I think is going to be a great asset to the redevelopment authority and to the redevelopment of Springfield. So I look forward to voting a definite yes for Vanessa to be on this commission. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Davila?
Sure. If you allow me to read the letter.
Please.
Into the record. Dated April 11th, sent by the mayor. I appoint Vanessa Ford of 37 Sycamore Street, Springfield, Mass. as a member of the Springfield Redevelopment Authority for an unexpired term until April 11th, 2029. And certify that, in my opinion, Ms. Ford is a person qualified to hold this position based on her commitment to the city and experience to perform the duties of said office. And I make the appointment solely in the interest of the city. Ms. Ford will be replacing Cheryl Stanley. Respectfully submitted, Dominic J. Sarno, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on the nomination?
And confirmation of Ms. Ford. Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran absent. Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Absolutely.
Yes, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Appointment is confirmed. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to the council.
Thank you very much. Okay, Madam Clerk. Normally I would group these petitions together, but they all seem to be a little different. So, Mr. Signoli, are you presenting on items 4, 5, and 6?
Yes, I am, Mr. President.
Okay, Madam Clerk, why don't let's try to call them together, 4, 5, and 6.
Item 4 is Eversource John Street. Item 5 is GoNet Speed Hamilton Street. And item 6 is Comcast on Berkshire Avenue.
Okay. Mr. Signoli.
Good evening, councilors. Chris Signoli, DPW Director. Item number 4, Eversource Gas is looking to replace low pressure lines with medium pressure lines on St. George, Main, Plainfield, John, and Carew Street, a total of about 1,500 feet, with a majority of it being 2-inch conduit to increase pressures in that area. Item number 5, GoNet Speed on Hamilton Street, is the installation of about 300 feet of 4-inch conduit to connect 2 pole locations, one on Lucerne and one on Geraldus Street, in order to provide fiber optic in that neighborhood. And the last item is Comcast fiber optic on Berkshire Avenue. The application talks about 330 feet. However, it is only about 70 feet or so that is in the city right-of-way. It crosses the city street from a utility pole and will go into the backside of the bulk mail center on Berkshire Avenue. I'd be happy to answer any questions any of the councilors have on these petitions.
Okay, any questions or comments from the council on the petitions? Councilor Brown.
Chris, thank you for being here. I just had a quick question as far as, and just a little bit of concerning question. When it comes to once they do the work and they actually go in and they do some of the repair, is it possible for us to ask for maybe more of a coverage? Because a lot of times it's just patchwork, and throughout time, that patchwork end up being a pothole or a hole.
Mhm.
You know, so a lot of times I do know they're required to come in and, you know, they'll fill in whatever they
Mhm.
dug out. But is there a way we can ask him to do a little bit more? Or
Well,
is it-
and absolutely, Counselor. And what we've done to Eversource this spring is we have severely throttled back their permits until they fix everything that they were supposed to fix for last year. So they're sitting on a lot of permits right now, not being able to move forward because they didn't complete stuff last fall. For some of you have seen, for example, Belmont Avenue near the X, they just did that about a week ago. It was supposed to have been done last fall. So I've been throttling back a lot of those permits, and we've been meeting with the people from Eversource because I have not been happy with their restoration that they've been doing in the city. When they do the restoration, it's good. The problem is they're waiting months and months and months and months to do it. So we've been throttling back their permits, and until they start completing some of the work from last year, they're not getting new permits for this year.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank
Thank you for your work. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman Brown. Any other counselors? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call a roll on approval of items 4, 5, and 6.
On approval of the petitions, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila. Away, Counselor Curran. Absent, Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Petitions are approved.
Thank you, counselors.
Item number 7, Madam Clerk.
Item 7 is a HUD Continuum of Care grant, no match required, in the amount of $7,534,592.
Okay, I think I saw Commissioner Colton Harris here a little bit earlier. She may have stepped out for a couple
This is,
minutes.
No, this is housing.
McCafferty.
Oh, this is for...
This is housing.
Oh, this is for Ms. McCafferty. Okay. Good evening, Ms. McCafferty. Would you please
Good evening,
introduce yourself?
Jerry McCafferty, Director of Housing. This is a $7.5 million grant from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. It comes to the city of Springfield on behalf of the Hampden County Continuum of Care, for which we are the lead. This funding covers 18 programs run by 10 agencies that provide housing to people who are exiting homelessness. These are existing programs, and this is a renewal grant that is this year's funding for the grants, for the programs. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Ms. McCafferty? Okay. Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Mr. President, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Counselor Govan. I see your hand, but sometimes just so you know, when I'm here, sometimes there's like 2 screens. I have to slide back and forth to see anybody raise their hand, so I missed you. I'm sorry. You have the floor.
No, that's understood. Thank you very much. And again, I just want to congratulate Jerry on getting this grant again. What she said at the Finance Committee meeting, that this is a very competitive grant, and they've been getting it every year, and every year there's been an increase, which tells me that, of course, there's been an increase in homelessness and the need for shelter. Something that I didn't think about in the Finance Committee meeting, Jerry, was that are you able to tell from your data how many people that are housed go back to being homeless after they're housed? I know there's different programs that, administer this grant and have a part in it. I'm wondering if there's any data on that.
There is. We have to report that to HUD. That is one of the performance criteria we have for HUD every year. And our programs have, at the 2-year mark, 95% of people who were housed are still housed. So they are very successful programs. Very high rate of retention.
That's good news, and I'm sure that plays a big part in you getting the grant over and over and over again. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor Govan. Okay. Madam Clerk, now will you please call the roll on acceptance of the grant?
On acceptance of the grant, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado. Counselor Delgado? Away. Counselor Click Bruce?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran, absent. Counselor Santinello?
Yeah, yeah. Counselor Curran, present.
Oh.
Yes.
Will the clerk please recognize the counselor in seat number 8?
Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Present and yes. Counselor Santinello?
Present and yes.
Yep, present and yes. Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Perez?
Abstain.
Abstain, Counselor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Grant is accepted. Thank you, Ms. McCafferty. Madam Clerk, will you please call items 8 and 9 for voice vote, or for a vote, please?
Item 8 is Springfield City Library donation in the amount of $15,000. And item number 9 is for the FY24 state aid to public library increase, no match required, and that is in the amount of $7,446.89.
Okay, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on acceptance of these grants?
On acceptance of the grants, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado. Away, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes for Counselor Delgado and yes for Counselor Click Bruce. Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Grants are approved. Madam Clerk, can we please call item number 10?
Item number 10 is an order for amending Chapter 16, Boards and Commissions.
Okay, counselors, this is a little out, this order is a little out of order because it's technically an ordinance, so I didn't catch that, but this is on for second and third step from our prior meeting. So Counselor Edwards, do you want to just say a couple words about the proposal?
This item is from a previous meeting in which we voted first step to allow for the continuation of one of the board members, specifically the Historic Commission, to continue in his appointment until the need for reappointment.
That's right.
And this only applies to this one particular board.
Right. Any comments or questions from the council? Counselor Brown.
I believe I should be on it. I'd like to be added to it.
Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please add Counselor Brown as a co-sponsor?
Yes.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on final passage to be ordained.
On passage, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Perez.
Yes, and please add my name. Thank you.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Ordinance is approved. Madam Clerk, item number 11.
Item 11 is an order approving contract for emergency communications.
Is there anyone here to speak on this item?
Yes, my name is Devin Grierson. I'm from the Law Department, and I'm here with Rebecca Ocasio from the Fire Department.
Okay. You have the floor.
We are here because this contract is a 5-year contract, which requires city council approval. The Fire Department of Emergency Services is purchasing a communication equipment along with services to maintain 24-hour support. The device is to record and log and store all forms of communications across 911 calls, radio transmissions, and business phone lines. The initial upfront cost, which I believe was approved, was $23,219.20. And then the continuing annual cost is $3,882.59. And that covers, it's an annual cost for years 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the total contract is $38,749.56. And both I and Rebecca Ocasio are here to answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval of the order, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click-Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Order is approved. Item number 12, Madam Clerk.
Item 12 is reserved for contingencies to the Comptroller Department state assessments in the amount of $40,000.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Burns.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pat Burns, City Comptroller. Tonight I'm requesting a transfer from the city's reserve for contingency account to the state assessment account, professional services, which is the account we use to pay the University of Mass Medical School for third-party billing for Medicaid claims for special education students. The contract calls for 2.5% of revenue that comes in is paid to the University of Mass Medical School. We're projecting that revenue to come in higher than what was projected at the beginning of the year. So we're experiencing a $40,000 shortfall, but on the other side of the coin, we are going to have a higher than anticipated revenue amount. And this revenue is general fund revenue and is used on page 3 of the city's recap.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Any comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Abstain.
Abstain, Counselor Click-Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Transfer is approved. Item number 13, Madam Clerk.
Item number 13 is an order authorizing expenditure of additional FY Chapter 90 funds in the amount of $184,000, $184,848. It's a lot of eights.
Mr. Signoli.
Good evening, councilors. Chris Signoli, DPW Director. The governor and Mass DOT had put together a bill for $25 million statewide under what is called the Rural Roadway Funding Program. The $25 million was distributed based upon a modified calculation, not what is used for Chapter 90. It is skewed a little bit more to the rural roads and to the rural communities. Of the $25 million, the city of Springfield is receiving the third highest amount. Boston is receiving $600,000, Worcester is $219,000, and the city of Springfield is $184,000. The money will be placed into our Chapter 90 account for additional paving programs, possibly for the program that we went out for this year. We can add probably a couple different roadways to that account, but it is additional funds under the rural roadway paving and goes into our Chapter 90 account and has the same restrictions on that account as we do with our regular Chapter 90 money.
Mr. President,
Councilor Santinello.
how much is in the Chapter 90 account?
We get, this year, we already received $3.6 million. And earlier in the year, we received 1.6. And of that, we probably use about 65% of that for paving programs. Last year, we probably spent about $4.5 million of it on paving. This year, we spent $2.5 million, and an additional $2.5 million on, that was city bond. In our account right now, we probably have a little bit over $4 million. I like to have 1 year always in reserves in case there's any glitches at the state level that we don't get funding.
So this money will be added to the
It
chapter?
gets added to that Chapter 90 account, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other councilors? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval of the order, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Order is approved.
Thank you, Counselor.
Mr. Signoli. Madam Clerk, item number 14.
14 is a transfer FY23 certified free cash to the opioid settlement fund in the amount of $1,521,535.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioner Carlton Harris. You have the floor.
I thank you so much. I am Helen Carlton Harris, Commissioner of the Division of Health and Human Services for the City of Springfield, and I live on Overlook Drive in the City of Springfield. We are asking that these funds be transferred into the opioid settlement account. It is important to note that opioid overdose deaths increased from 2014, there were 31. In 2020, there were 119. We have more than 4 times the amount of deaths that we've had since 2014. So this money is critical to the City of Springfield and our opioid overdose plan. In 2022, we hired an opioid overdose response coordinator. In 2019, we formed the Springfield Opioid Community Collaborative, which is about 40 organizations in our city who have been meeting monthly since 2019. This is in response to the opioid crises. And this collaboration, yes, came together prior to us receiving the settlement funds. And so the city decided once we received the funds or notice of funds, because all of you know that we could not spend those funds because they were not put in the proper legislative process, and that's at the state level. And so it was just in December of 2023 that we were allowed to put the money into the cities and towns in specific accounts. And the mayor decided he did not want to wait for that process, and so we purchased a mobile van for $210,000. There was money that was given to the TAC units for the fire department, and there was money given to the police department. The city has spent over $400,000 so far that it has not been, at this point, reimbursed for. We hired an opioid response coordinator. As I said, that individual's salary is one that we are paying out of the general fund that will also need to be reimbursed. And so our van really is a van to talk about a multidisciplinary plan for the city of Springfield. What does that mean? We want to have medical, behavioral health, making sure that we are using data to go into neighborhoods in our community to be able to deliver services. It will not be just the Springfield Department of Health and Human Services, as we expect our partners to be with us. There is going to be insurance on the van, so it just won't need to be city employees who drive the van. In 2022, we contracted with an organization to do an environmental scan of the city so that we could get some recommendations. Those recommendations really were from our end users or individuals with substance use disorders. And so we got some recommendations. I'm going to read a few of them to you at the end. But we did do research on successful opioid response plans using data and also develop enabling services that support families. We recognize that individuals with substance use disorders do not exist in isolation from those families that they are a part of. So we looked at enabling services such as potential childcare, transportation, case management. This money is longitudinal funding. That means it's long-term. we have a real opportunity here in the city to be able to put together a response plan that everyone sees themselves in and is important to this city. As far as the finances, I think it's important to note that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts on a quarterly basis asks for a report from the city of Springfield. And so we will certainly have accountability at the state level, accountability at the city level, and certainly I expect that us in our work at the Department of Health and Human Services will be very accountable. The program reports will, for the most part, be done by the Department of Health and Human Services, but it's important to note that unless we're spending this money specifically on opioid responses, it will not be passed through the state coffers, because what that means is that they're looking at everything we're going to do, and this money is to be used for opioid responses. And so right now we are continuing to plan. I sent the City Council 2 reports that we had so that you could take a look at what we've planned so far. And so we've been planning for a while, but more specifically in April, May, June, and July, we have calendars with very specific dates and the work that we're doing. This work will culminate in a forum that will happen on July 25th at the Carriage House, and that will be really for our opioid response plan to be able to have all of the individuals together who we see are important to the process. So we're doing an online survey with senior leaders and frontline staff. We're doing key informant interviews with senior leaders and frontline staff. We're doing semi-structured interviews with active users, people in recovery. We're doing focus groups with people in recovery and families. We are looking at secondary data from the state and secondary data that we have in our inventory. So finally, and I certainly have a lot of information, I invite you to read the reports. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I want to just read to you a few things that we've already heard from the community. Stigma. We heard about structural racism. We heard about communication between agencies, and this is under the heading of Springfield-specific challenges. We heard about a lack of personal aware of all services that can help navigate the system and keep constant communications. We heard about clients not getting correct services or referrals. We heard about care coordination, not knowledgeable about substance use disorder treatment and organization. We heard about the bottleneck of post-care and detox. Not enough people with active addiction involved in the decision-making process. We heard that loud and clear. No prevention overdose sites. Now what that means, those are what is called safe injection sites, where individuals can go in and there's a nurse or a doctor or someone there to supervise. We have none of those in the city of Springfield. I cannot tell you that we will be getting those anytime soon. I say that to you because I'm telling you what we heard. Limited number of halfway house beds, long waits in the emergency room, at times long waits for inpatient beds, no consistent buffer programs, no overnight drop-in centers, and a lack of medically opioid use disorder treatment centers, and no structural referral system, and no standardized training. Now, those were feedbacks, and there's more in the reports I sent that we got from those individuals that we have already had conversations with. So I'm framing this in a way to tell you that it's critical that we transfer this money over into the opioid response plan structure, or however the fiscal pieces of it is going to be laid out. But the transfer from free cash to this account is critically important. We cannot do any work until we have the money to do the work. I anticipate and hope that this city will put out a structured RFP process, have individuals respond in a way that fills those gaps that are going to be, have already been identified, and more that will be identified. This is an opportunity for the city to create something that will outlast potentially all of us in terms of a plan that could be updated. Again, I thank you for your time. I wanted to come and just give you some information. Again, I could talk about this for a couple of days, but I know that it's almost, we're almost at the end. Look at, y'all looking at me like, okay. We're almost at the end of the agenda, so let me stop there.
Thank you,
Mr.
Commissioner.
President.
Councilor Santinella.
The very first meeting I had this year of the Health and Human Services Committee was on the fentanyl epidemic in the city of Springfield, and Helen was gracious enough to come and represent her department very well, and I have the utmost confidence in her. Helen, what was the number you gave us from 2020, the deaths?
So there were 31 opioid deaths in 2014.
Right.
In 2020, there were 119.
How many are there? How many are there now?
I don't have the latest 22. So State Department of Public Health, as you know, data sometimes runs 1 or 2 years behind. So I do not have the 2021 data, but again, it's very striking to note that in 6 years, we absolutely had 4 times as many deaths.
Now, if I can remember the meeting that we had, the first meeting, that fentanyl was in the majority of the opioid overdoses, either a mixture of the fentanyl or fentanyl itself. And then we learned from the police department at that meeting that the marijuana on the street is being laced with fentanyl to get the young people involved and hooked on the marijuana that's laced with the fentanyl. How can we address that, Helen, if it's that epidemic?
Well, Brandeis University did a study, and that study really looked at what was in marijuana, also looked at what was in opioids. And what they found was that, and I know Councilor Davila, you asked me about xylazine earlier, but xylazine and fentanyl are the 2 primary drugs that Brandeis saw as they were testing substances, which they continue to do. The question around what can we do, I think what we're trying to do now is to create a system of care that looks at an individual primarily, their substance use disorder, and how do we treat that individual as far as systems are concerned. The other piece, to your point, is how do we reach our young people and make sure they understand the dangers of substance using.
I agree with you. But I'm not sure that the parents are aware of what's going on with this contamination of the drugs. And I think if they were aware 100%, they would pass that on to their kids so that their kids wouldn't be the next victim of an opioid overdose. So I think that has to be part of the teaching in the schools also, that the parents be aware of what's going on in the street, what's going on with their kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Santinello. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Definitely want to thank you, Commissioner, for all the work that you do for the community. I know when we think of the city, I know it's funding and are there going to be, and I do know the answer to this, maybe you can kind of relate on it. There's going to be different agencies that you're going to outsource to provide certain services in the community, correct?
Yes, there are those who currently have funding, right, to do some of this work, and we're hopeful that we match their funding with our funding, and so that we make stronger programs and better outreach. But the other piece is there are organizations who are not specifically tied to funding for opioids. Those are when we talk about childcare, talk about transportation, case management. I mean, how do we include a family in the treatment of an individual who has a substance use disorder, who is ready and wanting not to stay addicted?
And I always commend you because a lot of people truly don't understand that. It's always been my goal, even on the state level, to make sure some of the funding get to, like I would say, the mom and pop agencies, those individuals who truly are inspired to try to change the world, and they come up with programs and ideas that will impact their actual area. Some of these individuals, they can't receive city jobs. Their backgrounds, they just can't get them. But now they've done their due diligence, giving back to the community, and they have programs that in place where they can actually go into the different areas that maybe other people with the suit and tie can't go into, to relate to some of the youth. So I do think it's very important. I do know, I've heard of some of the people that were at the table that the city has been working with. So I want everyone to realize that it isn't just a city thing. It's other organizations that actually been working with Helen. So
Thank you.
I want to thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Brown, Councilor Davila, and then we're going to get to Councilors Govan and Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, just more of a comment for the record. When this transfer came back, $1.5 million came to us a couple of months ago, it was originally destined to be used to buy two TAC trucks for the fire department as a way of fighting the opioid crisis. And I remember that at the time I did question it. And that's not how you envision that money to be used. This is how you envision this money to be used, as the commissioner just explained, where this money is going to be used on the ground. It's going to affect immediately people, and I am very confident that this is going to do a lot of good for the people and the rest of the city of Springfield. But with that being said, Mr. President, I do have to say that I also believe that we do need at least 2 more TAC trucks, TAC units. For the people at home that don't know what the TAC unit is, it's a fire truck or a version of a small fire truck that the fire department uses to respond to emergencies. And they do carry life emergency equipment like oxygen, defibrillators, and Narcan, which is what is used to reverse an overdose. And I have to say and recognize the excellent work that the firefighters in the TAC units do. They work hard. They're always running back and forth. They do an extremely good job. We only have 2 in the city. Unfortunately, they're very expensive. And I do want to make it clear for the record that I do believe that we need more TAC units. Personally, I think we need 2. Maybe we can put that on the wish list for the budget of 2026, for next year, because it's badly needed here in the city. Commissioner, I'm glad that this money is going to you. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for putting this plan together. And I'm sure, like I say, it's going to do a lot of good to a lot of people here in the city of Springfield. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Commissioner, for your long time work in the city of Springfield regarding the issue of substance use. I remember in the early 90s, a group of us had met at the Urban League, and we're talking about treatment on demand and how we need detox available when someone is looking for it, halfway houses available when someone is looking for it, because at that time, and we still don't have that available now, at that time, that was the major issue. That was the early 90s. Fast forward to 2024, and we're still having the same conversation. However, back then, I think the epidemic was HIV/AIDS and crack cocaine. Today, we're dealing with opioid overdoses. And, this work is very near and dear to me. I am a certified substance abuse counselor, mental health clinician, and you talk about the stigma and ending the stigma. And that's something that we need to definitely work on. As almost everyone knows, I lost my son in 2022 to a accidental fentanyl overdose. That's what's on the certificate of death. And as hard as it is for me to talk about it, we need to talk about it because we need to let people know that it happens and it's happening all the time. My son actually did work, as you know, Commissioner, with Tapestry and preventing overdoses. And he called me a few times while he was working there. I think he started in 2018 and would tell me, oh, I saved someone's life today because he had administered Narcan. And I was so proud of him for doing that work, but he struggled, as a lot of people do. And people don't want to talk about it because of the stigma. So I'm really excited that the Division of Health and Human Services is getting this money and that we're going to use it the way it needs to be used. I love the collaboration piece because that's something that I've always talked about in the city, that there are so many silos and a lot of small agencies or even big agencies doing some really good work, but they're doing it by themselves. And that creates a barrier to a lot of our clients. And it's really hard for us to help our clients when there are silos like that because they might go to one agency and ask for something and they're told, oh, we don't do that here, you got to go over there. But if we were working together and doing that collaborative work, it would be a lot more, I think, positive outcomes. So I'm really excited to see what this work is going to do for the city of Springfield, for our residents. And I'm just here willing to help in any way that I can, offer my services and support as I've been doing since the early 90s. So thank you again, Commissioner, and thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan.
If I may, Councilor Govan, and I said this at the Finance Committee meeting, and I would just like to publicly state I had the opportunity to work with your amazing son, and I know that his heart was in helping people recover and doing prevention and intervention. So, while here, he made a difference, and that's a good thing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that. Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I was at the Finance Subcommittee meeting. I don't want to reiterate the things that I said there outside of looking outside the box on how we can reduce the opioid use and also target individuals that may be selling the drugs, could be also using the drugs, and those are also the same individuals that are creating the increased gun violence in the city. And maybe we use wraparound services such as STIC, Missions Inc., and others that do outreach to this target population to get them involved in the process of solutions. I did want to address something that Councilor Fantinello said, and that's about this, and also to Ms. Helen's point on the study that was done by Randall University, there are no substantiated conclusive evidence of cases that marijuana laced with fentanyl have caused any overdoses at all. So we were talking about this at length in the Mason Square C3 meeting, and it was brought up there, and Richard Johnson clearly said it, and I went and read the report myself, that there's no conclusive evidence. What I don't want to happen is, okay, now since marijuana is laced with fentanyl, that there's more targeted, even though it's legal to sell cannabis on the street, but now if there's a little drug dealer, I guess, in our target population selling cannabis, now that becomes the focus, marijuana, that becomes the focus of the police, and more folks in the communities that I grew up in are targeted even greater than they already are because of this misinformation. There is no substantial evidence that this has ever happened, or that even if the flower bud laced by fentanyl will even have a detrimental effect at all. No conclusive evidence. So I just wanted to say that because we talked about it at length at our Mason Square C3. If anybody wants that recording, I'll be happy to share it. But We need to do our research before we throw things out in the universe that may cause other harms to folks in the community. We've been targeted enough in my community by even folks selling marijuana in the 80s and 70s and before, still in jail, still in prison for selling bags of weed. That's now a multi-million-dollar market that is making the same people that put the folks in jail even richer. So I just wanted to say that, put that out in the universe so there's no misnomers out there about marijuana laced with fentanyl. Yes, there has been some testing and there has been fentanyl found, some cross-contamination done, but it has not caused any overdoses. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Any other councilors? Councilor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. As chair of the Finance Committee, I attended all these meetings. There was this one in the Finance Committee last week and this week, and heard Helen talk about the same things 3 times, and it made a little impression on me that we need to do better as a city. And obviously, we have a colleague whose son died as a result of an opioid overdose, apparently. And I know there's something, we care about everything in the city, but sometimes we don't get as much done as we should, or as we maybe could. The one thing that stuck out here with me is the consolidated plan that our health commissioner is talking about so passionately and so thoroughly, and also about the meeting on, is it a Saturday, July 25th? Is that a?
I'm not sure. It is July 25th. I'm not
July.
sure what day of the
So
week
it's July 25th. It's hard to commit 2 months out in the middle of the summer, et cetera. But I'm going to do my best to make that meeting on July 25th. And, maybe that's something we could all collaborate on to make sure that we are supporting her and her organization and all the other organizations in whatever we can do to help save lives. We have the money now. We're building the plan. It's staggering to think that we had 4 times as many deaths in over a 5-year period as we had. Go from 31 to 119 is just atrocious. So I just putting a pitch there that maybe this is something we can put our shoulder to a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Any other councilors?
If I
may, Mr. President,
Councilor
July 25th is a Thursday. Commissioner, will that be during the day or in the evening?
I'm sorry?
It's a Thursday.
Yeah, July 25th is a Thursday. Will the meeting be in the daytime or in the evening?
I believe it is in the morning. We intend to spend at least 4 hours that day working together. And so I think it's going to be important that we do support each other. And I know, Councilor Govan, you have been there from the beginning, so I am grateful. I just wanted to clarify that the Brandeis University study did not look at deaths. What it looked at was substances that were being integrated in. It did not look at deaths. I want to be clear about that. And then the last thing I'll say to Councilor Whitfield, I'm happy to meet with you to talk about how we reach individuals using drugs and selling drugs. I don't know that anybody has a concrete strategy, and I certainly have worked with a lot of individuals and continue to advocate. So I'm happy, hopefully you'll be willing to sit down with me and share your thoughts. I'd appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much.
You can't see me shaking my head, so I just wanted to comment. Absolutely, I'd love to talk about it because to me that will also help recruits decrease the gun violence that's happening if we can put these folks to good use and they're doing meaningful things for our city. And thank you for the clarification on the Brandeis study. I just wanted to make sure that we're not mixing up the message here. So thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilor Govan, your hand is up again.
Yes, I'm sorry. Just one last thing regarding, people selling drugs and using drugs, right? I've always been of the mind of supply and demand. If there wasn't any demand, we wouldn't need any drug dealers. So I think what you're talking about, when I read your report that you sent out to us this evening, I browsed through it, I saw racism in there, you know, there's poverty, there's, you know, people's social determinants of health that affects people's health and quality of life, which may cause them to have mental health issues. They might have the need to use drugs, right? Or the need to use alcohol to try to get away from their circumstances. So if we always address the root cause of these issues, then we wouldn't need people using drugs, and we wouldn't need have a need for drug dealers. So that was just something that we've always talked about. Richard Johnson actually was sitting around that table in the early '90s, talking about treatment on demand and finding ways to help people not have to use drugs, right? Because there's a reason that people decide that they need an escape, which is what that is basically. So I just wanted to put that comment in there that let the commissioner know my thoughts on that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan.
Mr. President.
Councilor Perez.
You know what? I have to comment because we see it from the therapeutic perspective, but I see it at the other side of the spectrum when it comes to the community. And lately, I've been seeing it in the news. It's not only the users, seeing children, young children dying because we don't have the education, what is a fruit looks like, and compared to the fentanyl and all that. I mean, and it's gonna be hitting our city. And I see it day by day because I do work from the other spectrum in the community. And I think we need more education. And I think this is the time when it comes to this dispersion, this money, so we could get that education. I was kind of crying when I saw in the news a baby just took some candy thinking that it was candy and it was not. So we have to put the faces. It's not only the finance money of it, but how does it affect our community because of the lack of education and programs like this one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Okay. Seeing no other councilors, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on the transfer?
On approval of the transfer, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Order is approved. Okay, Madam Clerk, our last item, item number 15, please.
Item 15 is an ordinance for a tree replacement revolving fund.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak on this item? Good evening, Mr. Burns.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is first step on an ordinance creating a tree revolving fund. In March, the council approved an amendment to Chapter 268. It was Chapter 368, Tree Protection. And within this ordinance was the creation of a revolving fund. This is the second step in this process. In order to create the revolving fund, we do have to amend our existing revolving funds to add this under Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Any questions from the council? Councilor Brown.
I just have a quick question. When we're talking, are we asking for any outside entities that might be impacting tree replacement to contribute to the revolving fund?
My understanding is if a contractor comes in and they're doing work, and part of that work they're taking down a perfectly healthy tree, they then have to pay the city a set amount. I believe it's $400. And that money will go into this revolving fund, and then the city's forestry department will replace that tree somewhere else in the city.
Okay, because I know the city council body had concerns about solar. You know, we do want to make sure that we support, clean energy and solar, but there's an issue with I want to believe with NextGrid solar company as far as knocking down trees in a certain area where residents over there are kind of concerned, where it's beneficial by having the solar, but now we're taking away our trees. Or is there anything we're doing to combat some of that stuff?
I've actually asked the city forester, Alex Sherman, to come to the next meeting when it's second and third step, and he's much more qualified to answer that question. I'm really just trying to do the accounting piece here.
Mr. President,
But he certainly would have that.
can I speak to that?
Okay.
1 second. Councilor Brown still has the floor.
Thank you. I was just I was just making sure, but thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Allen.
Yeah, just trying to help with the clarification as best I can. I've been involved in the tree stuff, the tree ordinance, and now I'm involved in the solar. This thing, the revolving fund, came out of that ordinance that Alex Sherman brought. And that was a long-standing ordinance that had not ever come to conclusion. I believe that the revolving fund idea came out of that, and I'm not qualified to say much more than that. We should probably get Alex here. The solar thing has come up since then, when we found out that there was some approval granted for potentially a solar farm, and I'm putting air quotes here on it because I'm not sure it's a solar farm, but it is for some land in the Allen Cooley area behind Big Y. Kind of if you're going out Allen Street past Wendy's and McDonald's, it's on the left. It's in the woods on the left. And there has been some approval granted. There are some neighbors, and there's a lot of discussion about it right now. At this point, I think there's more approvals needed, but it's in the conversation now. So it's related to this thing, but they started out separately.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Any other councilors? Councilor Govan?
Thank you, Mr. President. So maybe, Patrick, if you don't know what the answer to this question, it was kind of like what Councilor Brown was asking is, so is that public trees or private trees? Because where the solar farm is potentially going, what Councilor Allen was talking about, it looks like they're planning on cutting down a whole field of trees. So will that developer have to pay $400 for every tree that they cut down if it happens? Do you know the answer to that question?
I'm looking at the ordinance that was passed in March, and it is publicly owned trees.
That, just to clarify, Mr. Burns, that was not passed in March. We took a preliminary step, but we did not take final step on that.
But
Councilor
that's what the ordinance says, so it's only public.
I'm sorry, Councilor Govan, you still have the floor, but I think Councilor Davila would like just to clarify on the point I just made.
Clarification. First of all, I agree we should get Alex in here for more specific expert testimony. But it is my understanding, sir, as Councilor Allen was just saying, this particular revolving fund, it's to collect the money from fines from developers who knock down protected trees. Those are trees that are, I believe, either 75 or 100 years old and or have a specific width to them that are protected. So that is my understanding, and that's what the intent of this is, to collect that money, and then this money, as Councilor Allen said, will be used to replace, Controller Pat Burns said, that money will be used to offset trees in other parts of the city. That's to the best of my recollection, sir.
So, and this is just on a procedural, and then I'll go back to you, Councilor Govan. Are you saying, Councilor Davila, that you believe that we did adopt that change to Chapter 268 concerning trees and the fines?
Yeah, we passed the ordinance.
Okay, that may have happened when I was away. I see.
I put forward right before Pat Sullivan retired.
Okay.
And this is an offshoot of that ordinance.
All right, I apologize. I was not at that meeting, so I was wrong to say that, Mr. Burns. That those changes that you were reading are currently a part of the law for Chapter 268.
Yeah, just some background. I received a call from the park department. They said, "When are you going to set up my account?" So
I see.
They sent me the ordinance, so I told them we have one more step in the process.
Councilor Govan, back to you. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, thank you. So Patrick, we certainly want to set up this account to replace trees. And I guess my question was about the solar farm that Councilor Allen alluded to, which I'm involved in helping, the scans people to try to get things like that, not happen, right? Because solar, of course, is excellent and it's something that's very useful, but the trees are useful too. So if there's a whole field of trees there, they're gonna cut all those trees down to put up a solar farm. It's gonna kind of like, negative, make it a negative, instead of plus and a negative, it's gonna be zero. You're taking down trees, you put it in a solar farm, and it's gonna be a zero added benefit because we lost our trees. So I guess I would like to know, and of course I would love for this fund to move forward because we do need to replace trees, if, because I guess that's a private lot, and so the private trees that are knocked down, that are mature, like you said, mature trees, would the developers have to pay $400 for every tree? So maybe Alex can answer that question the next time that we're here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is that pricing adjustable? Because and the reason why I ask, if a homeowner wanted to get a tree cut down, they'd pay about $2,000, maybe more. So now a contractor that owns a business cut a tree down and we're charging him $400? The math truly doesn't make sense. Why is it only $400? Why isn't it equivalent? They're mature trees, right? We were basing on the size, the width, so we know they're mature trees. If I want to cut down a mature tree as a resident, it would cost me $2,000. Why is it only $400?
I'm not an expert on this, but the contractor has the equipment to do all of that, so that's why they don't have to contract to somebody else to pay the $2,000. So that's
what I'm saying is, this is when a contractor illegally or wrongly cut down a tree, correct?
No, not necessarily. It would be to put a driveway in, for instance. They had to cut the tree down. It was a healthy tree, so they want to add a tree back in the city, so it's a 1-for-1.
But I still don't understand why a mature tree is only worth $400. The price just seemed low. Is there a way we can go up a little higher?
This is an ordinance that was amended and already adopted in March. So
Okay. All right.
I mean, you could certainly revisit it and amend it to increase that. Alex.
It just seems so low. I'm just, if we're really talking about taking this actually serious as far as conserving some of our trees and really making an impacted difference, to me, $400, I mean, that's not a lot of money. But that's just one of my concerns. But thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. I concur with Councilor Brown. He does raise a very logical and good point, in my opinion, about the amount of $400. However, the matter before us is just to create this revolving fund in which we should create it. I think that Councilor Brown's legitimate point should be addressed, maybe perhaps in the Sustainability Committee, so that then, if appropriate, we can come back and amend Chapter 268, and increase it to an amount that this wise and humble bodies agrees to.
I think that'd be very appropriate. If the committee was committee meeting was scheduled to discuss this before the next meeting. I think that'd be appropriate.
Who's chairing the sustainability?
The chair of the
That would be me.
Sustainability and Environment Committee is Councilor Govan. And chair of the Maintenance and Development Committee is Councilor Brown. So either committee would be appropriate. Okay, but so this is first step of 2 steps on the revolving fund. Any other questions or comments on the revolving fund ordinance? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on first step.
On approval of first steps, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Item is approved for first step. Any more business, Madam Clerk?
There's not.
Okay, this council will stand adjourned until next week,
Just leave it.
Monday,
Mr. President.
May 13th. Council adjourned.